What's going on to all my Marvel MCU Killmonger fans out there, and welcome back to my channel Movie Files. Elliot back again with my weekly recap, breakdown, and review of the latest episode of Disney Plus What If, and today we're breaking down episode 6, which was titled What If Killmonger Rescued Tony Stark, an episode in which we see homages paid to Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, but more importantly, the Black Panther. So excited to break it all down, this spoiler review, but before we do so, make sure you're checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you all are new to the channel, well, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. That way you can get the alert for when I drop new content. If you all enjoyed this spoiler review, well, make sure to like and share this review. It helps out the channel so much, but I also appreciate all the support. And in those comments, let's talk about this 6th episode, things that worked, things that didn't work. Let's talk about how we get to see and relive moments from Iron Man 1 and the characters from that universe, as well as Iron Man 2. But more importantly, one of my favorite films in MCU, which is Black Panther, and seeing all the stuff from that universe, the dialogue, the cinematography, the score, all this stuff was there. But I also have this like inkling in the back of my chest that I think this was Marvel's way of easing in the audience to what I think we're going to be seeing in next year's Black Panther Wakanda Forever, in which I think they're going to kill T'Challa very early on in the film, which I'm not okay with. But we'll talk about that in this breakdown, but I want to know your thoughts in the comments below. But before we break it all down, just a friendly reminder for you all that do or do not know, but every single Wednesday, 6 p.m. Central Time, myself and my co-host tonight will be joining me, Chris, and we're going to have a special guest in Big J from Unyolo on Instagram. We're going to be breaking down this episode more in depth, but we're also going to be talking about some of the latest MCU news, Hawkeye trailer that we'll be talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about Andrew Garfield as well as Venom 2, so I'm going to leave the information in the description below. Click the link, hit that bell notification. I'll see you all tonight, 6 p.m. Central Time. Can't wait to discuss it with you all tonight. So let's get into this breakdown. Just my initial thoughts before we recap the episode. I thought the dialogue was fantastic. I am such a big fan of Black Panther. I know people out there like, oh, it's so overrated. It should have been never nominated. This, and to each his own. I love that film. Top tier MCU to me. Direction, performances, dialogue, themes, social commentary. It's fantastic to me. Yes, it has some of its flaws in the third act, but I think the film is really great. And seeing all the characters being implemented in this episode, obviously Killmonger, which is not only one of my favorite villains, like I said, but one of my favorite characters in the MCU. Seeing Okoye and Dora Milaje, T'Challa, Shuri. We didn't get, M'Baku or, some of my other favorite characters, but it was just great to see those characters. But like I said, my biggest thing is I think that Marvel, when we'll get to that moment when T'Challa dies in this episode, I really do think this is their way of kind of, like I said, easing the audience into what I think they're going to do in next year's Black Panther 2, which is unfortunately kill off T'Challa, which there's just so much story to give with that character. We'll get into that a little bit later, but again, I really think this episode is fantastic. I'm still kind of, by tonight, I'll come up with like where I want to rank it, but it's pretty high on my list just from a dialogue standpoint alone. But again, let me know your thoughts in the comments. So let's break it all down as we see the events of Iron Man 1 play out, except Tony is saved by Killmonger, who has some info, some intel that the Ten Rings, which is funny because we just got Shang-Chi, but the Ten Rings was trying to assassinate Tony, as we know in the first Iron Man, but obviously Killmonger's there to save him. We get a nice little homage and kind of montage of the journey that Tony went on through what we saw in the MCU. We see what he did in Iron Man. We see what he did in the Avengers, and of course what he did to save the world in Endgame. All those events play out, but not in this episode, ladies and gentlemen. As the Watcher says, the hero's path is changed in Tony Stark, and also the villain's path is changed, but not too much because Killmonger's doing some pretty villainous things in this episode, which was pretty fantastic. But we see the events play out as Eric is the new security lead. Not happy, but it is Eric because, again, he saved Tony's life. We see, again, another moment from Iron Man 1 in which Eric tells the media, very similar to how Tony Stark told the world in Iron Man 1, I am Iron Man. We see Killmonger tell the world that it was Obadiah who set up this assassination for Tony Stark, and seeing Happy get to punch him out was a pretty cool moment. But again, this is just more and more of Tony being like, this is the guy I need to trust. Not only do I want him to be the head of security, but I want him to be my COO, which Pepper's like, whoa, Tony, this is moving a little bit too quick. And Tony's like, listen, I need a killer on my side, and this is my killer here. here as we see Pepper at this point has had Rhodey, which it was so great to hear a lot of the same actors, reprise their role. We didn't have, obviously Robert Downey Jr., Gwyneth Paltrow wasn't involved, but a lot of the Black Panther cast came back. A lot of the Iron Man cast came back, so that was great to hear. But she has, which brings me to Rhodey being voiced by Don Cheadle. She has him do some intel on Killmonger, on Eric, and pretty much his record's clean, except for the murders, of course. So Pepper from the very jump was not a big fan and very suspicious of Eric, which she should have been. Very good call on her part. But move forward to Tony helping Killmonger with his project Liberator, which Tony should have known right off the bat from the name of that project that it was something probably going on there. But we get another role reversal of a sense of Iron Man not building his suits and Jarvis being implemented in the system, but instead he's building his suit for Killmonger and making this Liberator and implementing Jarvis into that system. So again, a lot of homages paid to Iron Man, but going down a different path. But they need some vibranium, ladies and gentlemen, as the little chain and the necklace that Killmonger has is not enough vibranium, and this is where Claw comes in, voiced by Andy Serkis, who's coming back into the mix. And this was a pretty interesting scene here as Tony sends Rhodey to meet up with Claw, and we see all the vibranium that he has to his possession, but there's a breach on the premises, and it's no other than T'Challa, voiced by, and it's just so great. This is the third time now, if I'm not mistaken, hearing Chadwick's voice and just seeing him voicing Black Panther, because obviously the other two times we've seen him, he was playing Star-Lord, and we saw him obviously in Black Panther with the zombie episode, but seeing him in action was really, really cool. And we see a moment here, and this is the moment I'm talking about. Killmonger comes to the mix, he betrays, he's working with Claw, and he kills his cousin, he kills T'Challa, and I think again, insert whatever villain. I think this scene is Marvel's way, like I mentioned earlier, of them easing the audience into what I think we're going to see in next year's Black Panther film. And I think opening sequence of the film, first 15 minutes is going to go one or two ways. We're going to talk about it more tonight, but I can see them. I really do think they're going to bring Killmonger back in Black Panther 2, very similar to the comics. I think his girlfriend, who they recently, I think is playing this character, they cast her. I think she's going to bring him back and help with Namor, and I think we're going to see maybe a similar scene play out in Black Panther 2 within the first 15 minutes, and Killmonger killing T'Challa. Not Chadwick Boseman's face going to be seen, but he's going to be in the mask, or it's going to be, like I said, insert your villain, Namor or whoever. We're going to see T'Challa die very early on in Black Panther 2, and I think that's such a huge mistake, and this has nothing to do with Shuri, who I do think inevitably was going to take on the mantle of Black Panther, as she's does in the comics, but I just think from an MCU narrative standpoint, it's way too early for that character to take on the mantle, in my personal opinion. So I have no gripes against that. I would love to see that. I just think that there's just so much story to be told with Black Panther, and particularly T'Challa as Black Panther, and I think that with Marvel not recasting him is just a huge mistake. But again, that's a whole debate conversation. We'll have some more discussions about it tonight. My buddy E-Man talks about it a lot, and a lot of other people are advocates of not killing T'Challa, but instead recasting T'Challa. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. As again, we see him kill Black Panther T'Challa, but at the same time he kills Rhodey. But before that, they have a pretty interesting, again, I thought the dialogue was so good in this episode, as we see Rhodey telling Killmonger about being a part of the system, and obviously Killmonger's position of power is in regards to being oppressed and taking down and burning the system, very similar to what his path of vengeance was in the Black Panther film. So we see all that kind of play out, which again, it was really cool to see Black Panther in that moment, but seeing, obviously T'Challa die in that moment, I think, again, this was Marvel saying, hey guys, this is something that we're probably going to put into our film. Let's ease you into that idea, but we'll see how all that plays out next year. But moving forward, we see that Tony has Jarvis in the system, obviously, and Jarvis sees everything. So Tony saw that Killmonger killed Rhodey, and this was all part of the setup that he was working with Claw. And Tony thinks that he was going to be able to take down Killmonger by using his own weapons that he created against him. But no, Killmonger's able to take down the Liberator machine, but at the same time, he's able to take down Tony as he puts the Wakanda spear in his chest. They're having some dialogue, some really good dialogue here, and in particular the line that they mentioned in regards to Tony saying, I thought we were two of the same orphans trying to fix the mistakes of our past, and also make our fathers proud. And this is what Killmonger tells him, the difference between me and you is you don't see the difference between me and you, which I thought was a great line there, as he inevitably does kill Tony Stark, which brings us to Killmonger making it seem that it was the Wakandans that killed Tony, and the Dora Milaje came in retaliation to T'Challa dying. So he's just manipulating manipulating the whole situation here. And we see that General Ross is now in play, and now he has all the control over Tony Stark's weapons, which was just, again, the manipulation being had by Killmonger. And again, just Michael B. Jordan was really great in this episode. So we see that Killmonger has taken to the interests of Wakanda by Claw. He delivers, Claw there, and we obviously see it's very similar to Black Panther. He kills Claw. He has the Claw with him. He delivers them to Dora Milaje in regards to, hey, this is my loyalty. I killed the guy that's killed your own people, that is taking your vibranium. I want to talk to T'Chaka. As we see him have that moment with T'Chaka, and again, he's manipulating the entire situation as he's like, I just want to come home. My dad, has told me so much about you guys growing up, and I'm just happy to be with my family. As T'Chaka welcomes him into Wakanda, but he wants to put the top priority on this war, which is making their way to Wakanda by General Ross. As we see, the suggestion by Killmonger is to lift up the shields and let the drones come in, which T'Chaka takes his advice. As we see that they let the drones come in, and General Ross is like, oh, this is Wakanda, we're gonna get them. But then, we see the gates close down, the network shuts down, but then we see that Killmonger, they're like, oh, we can trust you now. And he turns the machines on, saying that it was Tony Stark had like some type of backup plan. And this is where we get the awesome action set piece this week, as we see the Dora Milaje and the Wakandan army go against these drones, which, again, going back to paying homage, this was very similar to Iron Man 2, when obviously the drones were created by Justin Hammer and Whiplash. So we get that kind of moment play out, and we're seeing Killmonger making himself look good. He saves Okoye in the middle of this battle. He's taking out the drones, and again, at this point, he's gained all of the trust and confidence from the Dora Milaje, but more importantly, he's gained the trust and confidence from the King, T'Chaka. As we see, again, the score kicking in. It was just so great to see that moment. But at this point, we see T'Chaka, Killmonger on the mountains, but obviously different from the movie. He's not dead this time. He's very much alive, and T'Chaka gives him the blessing to become the next Black Panther, which we go to the ancestral plane, where we see kings talking amongst kings, the new Black Panther talking to the old Black Panther, in which we see T'Challa, voiced by beautifully, incredibly, and just emotional moments by Chadwick Boseman, as they're talking about, was it all worth it to do what you did here, and the conversation about suffering, fighting suffering with suffering, and obviously Killmonger's on this road of vengeance and killing for what happens to his father. So I thought that was one of the best moments, if not the best moment in the entire episode. And I think, again, Killmonger taking on that mantle is something I think will inevitably happen in the next Black Panther film. But moving on and wrapping up the episode, as we see Shuri makes her way back to the U.S., breaks into Pepper's office. They have a conversation in regards to the information she has to give Pepper in seeing Killmonger killing Tony, killing T'Challa, and setting off this war. So they're going to bring him down together, which I believe we're going to see the ramifications and the continuation of that story in this season, because I think I remember seeing the trailer and seeing Shuri in the Dora Milaje in battle. So I think we're going to get this later on in this particular season. But overall thoughts as we wrap up, we see The Watcher ends by telling us a quote in regards to heroes never actually being gone, and they live forever, as do the ones they inspire and carry on the fight, which I think that was probably added in post-production, obviously in honor of Chadwick Boseman passing, which I thought was a really great line, a really great moment there. So overall, again, I mentioned how the dialogue was on point. Hearing Killmonger say a lot of the kind of the similar lines that he said in Black Panther was fantastic, and obviously voiced by Michael B. Jordan, which I do think it would be pretty interesting to see him come back from the dead in Black Panther 2, a la Namor, a la his girlfriend, raising him back from the dead as she does in the comics, and maybe teaming up with Namor. But the thing I'm not looking forward to seeing is them killing off T'Challa and obviously the Black Panther, and seeing how they handle that. So we'll see. Obviously Ryan Coogler, Kevin Feige, Nate Moore, and all those people have been, this last year or so, been trying to come up with multiple scripts, multiple stories. They're obviously in production now. I would imagine by the end of the year, we're going to get maybe a teaser, because the film does come out next July. So I'd imagine we'll get some more information around the film a little bit later this year. But we're going to get more in depth about the T'Challa killing in this episode and what it can mean for Black Panther 2 a little bit later tonight in the live stream. Again, I hope you all can tune in 6 p.m. Central Time tonight. Link in the description. See you all there. But overall, a really great episode. It's just that lingering thing is in the back of my mind. But even, taking that aside for what it was this episode, I thought it was a really great episode. I have to think about where it ranks. It's definitely in my top top 3 right now, and I'll come up with my list a little bit later tonight. But that's my thoughts on the episode. Let me know your pros, your cons, your highs, your lows, and your thoughts on recasting T'Challa or just, killing off the character in MCU. Let's talk about it in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I appreciate every single one of you all. Make sure before you leave to like the video, share the video, leave your thoughts in the comments. Of course, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell, that way you don't miss any more other content. As you can see on the screen now, subscribe to the channel, check out my other content. See you all tonight. Hope you're staying safe. We'll see you in the next video.